Okay, today we're going to talk about the Breton language, and the Breton language is a language that is spoken in the Brittany region of France, and it was a language that was brought over from migrating Celts from the island of Britannia around the time that the Anglo-Saxons were settling there. And this region called Brittany is a very rural region and does not have a lot in common with the rest of the culture of France. Looking at the linguistic geography, um, uh, it's a language that is most similar to Cornish and Welsh, but also is similar to Irish, Manx, and Gaelic, and is currently the only Celtic language that is spoken on the main the mainland European continent outside of the British Isles. Looking at where Breton is spoken mostly in the northwest area of Brittany, and that area is called Lower Brittany, and not so much in the southern area of Brittany, which is confusingly called Upper Brittany. And up in the northwestern area of Brittany, you can see that some signs even are bilingual with French and Breton. And looking at the dialects of Breton, there's multiple dialects. There's four. They're generally mutually intelligible, but the most influential one is based off the variety spoken in a place called Traeger. Looking at the endangerment status of Breton, there is currently 250,000, oh, excuse me, 250,000 speakers of the Breton language, and despite revitalization efforts that has been going on consistently since the mid 20th century, this is largely in part due to the only recognized language of France is French. So it's hard for advocates to get funding for schools and cultural events when the French government does not want to does not want to promote anything but the French language. However, there is still revitalization efforts for the language, and there's lots of journals that were open throughout the 20th century to try and promote language use. But ultimately, the most effective way is these schools. They're called diwans, and this is similar to the model they have in Ireland and Wales to promote their language, which is to start young people getting into it, so they'll promote the language. And the repression of the Breton language is a large reason why it does not exist so much today. I went through similar stuff with the Native American languages and the other Celtic languages, where kids in school were repressed from when they spoke it and it was considered a lesser language. So a lot of the older generation still holds those self-hating views. So it really lies in the young people to promote the culture and language. In terms of written Breton, there was there is the oldest script is older than anything that is written in French, and there's a long history of written Breton. And for the orthography, which was ultimately settled upon in the 20th century, it's based off multiple dialects all put together. And looking at the influences and other contexts, it's largely similar to most Brythonic Celtic languages, except for the fact that it uses two different letters, and the word order is slightly different. It's the usual SVO instead of the VSO that you typically find in Celtic languages that throws a lot of people off. It also has a lot of influence from French, obviously. Up to 40% of the modern vocabulary is made up of French words. And looking at the grammar, it is a analytical language. It's concatenative, it's non-flexive, and it is cumulative. So yeah, you should definitely give Breton a try. It's a good way to get into Celtic languages because of the easier SVO and the French vocabulary. It's a great and interesting culture and beautiful area. So this is a severely underfunded language, and it could use some people to spice the numbers up.